Hi YouTube, and welcome to the latest video coming to you from All Things Hitman. My name's Reaper1. This will probably be the most exciting video that I've ever released on this channel. I think it even tops my visit to IO Interactive that I was lucky enough to do a few years ago. I was fortunate enough to sit down and, in a world first, and interview the Hitman cast, the main Hitman 3, or I should really say World of Assassination Trilogy cast. Key cast members being David Bateson as 47, Jane Perry as Diana Burnwood, John Hopkins as Lucas Gray, aka the Shadow Clients, and the very talented Philip Rosch as the Constant, the main antagonist of the game. I got these four fabulous actors all together over a virtual panel meeting, and was very fortunate to have quite a lengthy discussion in regards to Hitman and in regards to their involvement with this latest trilogy. They were very kind to sit down with me for about 90 minutes and have an in-depth discussion of their experiences and their most cherished memories of what this journey has been like, bringing these amazing characters to life that the talented writers at IO Interactive have crafted for us, the gamers, to enjoy. Now, before we get into the interview, guys, I'm just going to quickly plug my channel. I have a feeling that this video will get more views than my normal stuff. This may be the very first video you've ever watched of mine. I'm the host of All Things Hitman, this channel. I'm a big Hitman fan. I like to make Hitman lore videos primarily. I like to make Hitman commentary videos. I make the odd gameplay and meme video as well. So if you're a big fan of the Hitman universe, in terms of its narrative, of each entry and the characters, please do consider subscribing. You can check out my 2020 trailer for the channel to get a better idea of what the channel is all about. So without further ado, why don't we get straight into it, and I'll chat to you all at the conclusion of the interview. So welcome everybody to a very special All Things Hitman video. We have somehow managed to get all the cast here together of the latest World of Assassination trilogy, the latest Hitman series of entries, which is absolutely amazing. So I'd like to thank you all for making the effort, especially as it's very early where you all live. This is a fairly historic moment to have a Hitman cast come together. It's amazing. So,
Yay!
And it's such an honor for me to be able to host it. So thank you so much. I think you already kind of answered this first question when we hadn't started recording yet, but I now know the answer to this question. But so you guys never have convened together before, not even for rehearsals or anything like that?
Not as a group, not as a
not
group.
collectively, not the four of us. Like Jane and I have known each other for years as friends anyway.
Oh, okay.
And Jane and Philip and I have all, I think, met in London doing voice sessions, but I've never ever met the great David Bateson.
And doing the motion capture.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Motion capture.
Now, who's sort of my half-clone brother.
So
it's so many scenes.
It's so cool to have
so
you
many,
guys together.
so many scenes recorded.
And I've never even spoken with David before.
Oh wow!
No,
yes,
no.
It's a big deal for us.
Utterly unique. Yeah.
Wow. And
yeah.
David is a huge Hitman fan. I'm a little bit mesmerised as well. So forgive me, please. So how did you all first get into acting?
Oh, who was to start that one?
Well, I started acting when I was in high school, I guess, and then I kind of did it. I sort of joined an amateur theater company after high school, and as you know, when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, and then suddenly I thought, oh, actually, this is what I would like to do with my life, and that was that. And I studied at theater school and became an actress, and have been doing it for, I guess, sort of 25, 30 years, I suppose.
Was that Calgary, Jane?
Yes, it was. I started in Calgary, studied in Vancouver, worked in the theatre in Canada, and then moved to England.
Was the theatre school in Vancouver?
Yes, it was. Yeah, Studio 58.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Was that the same with most of you? Did you kind of just fall into it, or did some of you know that that's what you always wanted to do?
I always knew I wanted to do it. David.
Did you?
Go.
No.
I wanted to do it, but I was way too afraid. So I went to uni first and went down this little side route of doing an English degree, which has stood me in good stead. And then I finally went to drama school at 21, and then left at 25, and I've been doing it for 20 years. But for me, it was theatre. It was always theatre. It was I wasn't very confident growing up. I wasn't very physically confident, and I discovered theatre, and there was sort of a power in words and language aside from physical, which sort of made me feel energized. So that's
really great.
That was what got me into it.
Yeah, wow, that's really cool. So it was almost like an outlet.
Yeah, a pressure release valve. Yeah, Harold Pinter's monologues, The Caretaker, kind of switched me onto the possibility of language as a sort of active force. So it was
wow, that's really amazing.
I don't know about you guys. I almost envy people who kind of wanted to be like Jane, you know, from an early age, just going, I think this is where I want to be an actress or go into acting. Because I didn't. I kind of got into it by accident in real terms, because I didn't quite know what I wanted to do, and I knew I had a scholarship to go to university for free. This is back in South Africa, but I went to a, you know, what do you call them? Like a student advisor or something, like career advisor.
Cruiser, yeah.
Yeah, and you do all those crazy little exercises. You know, you're joining circles, and you're going, "Oh, this is going to change my life," and I came up and said, I want to do architecture or journalism. And the short story is that he said, listen, I can see in this one area of artistic appreciation and creativity or whatever is off the scale. You don't want to reconsider? I went, no. So he kind of politely guided me towards, listen, start out with a journalism degree, because your maths is so crap. I don't think you should go there with architecture. And then take 1 year speech and drama. And I went, what? Why? Well, I wouldn't do that. And he said, I think you should, because, you know, if you end up as a journalist, and you'll be good in front of a camera, be able to express yourself clearly and so on. You know, he kind of sold me the story. And I went, okay, I'm not convinced, but I will. And that is literally the short story. I started to do drama, an English degree with drama as a side subject, and I just found the drama more and more interesting. So I a bit embarrassing when you graduate with your degree and again, David Bateson, you're walking down with your little hat ready to put on your head and your black coat and you're feeling like Superman or something. And he said, you know, they go, oh, English literature, no, what's it? They said, speech and drama, first class pass, English literature, third class pass. And I knew because I was never there. I was always farting around doing
in the theatre.
So, but the point is, like you, I would never have had the confidence to go for acting straight up. And then just found it really a lot of fun. And here I am.
Here you all are. It's really cool.
Exactly.
What are the fundamental differences between the art of voice acting compared to film or stage, and which acting medium do you all personally prefer and why?
That's a big one. I'll leave that to you guys first.
Let's hear from Philip.
Come on, Philip, your turn.
Regarding training, I trained in a place called the Welsh College of Music and Drama, and I had done a degree in art, and I did a degree. I went to uni first because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and in my uni there were three lists of subjects you had to choose from, because you had to do 3 subjects in the first term, and art I wanted to do, psychology from the other list I thought I was good, and then in the third list they had this thing, drama, and I thought, ooh, acting, that sounds fun. And that's how I got into it. So I did uni doing basically drama and art, and then after that I went to acting school for 1 year. Anyway, in answer to the medium I might prefer, most of the work I've done has been TV and film and 1 computer game.
Is it your only game? Is Hitman your only game, Philip?
Yeah. That's the only one I've done. Interestingly enough, Jane, I've played computer games that Jane has done, and Jane never even played them. Like there was one called Alien Isolation, I think, and I played quite a bit of that. I was quite good, and it was great to see Jane as one of the kind of main characters in the, because I always loved the films as well, especially Aliens, and it was just great to see Jane as one of the main characters in that, and she's popping up everywhere in my favorite computer games. And interestingly enough, David, I've been you killing people since 2002.
No kidding.
I was a Hitman fan from 2002, from the very first game where you didn't even get a flipping save. Do you remember on Hitman, codename flipping 47? Didn't even give you one save. So once you died, you had to go back. You had to go back again and do the whole level. It was ridiculous. It drove the fans mad, but it was still a great game.
That actually leads well into my next question, which is, have you all played the latest games? And if you have, do you ever ad-lib in your own lines as you play?
Yeah, I did it for PlayStation. We had a press junket, and the PlayStation people from London were over, and they said, listen, I had to ask the marketing and the legal department. They said, listen, could David just freestyle whilst we play Ghost Mode?
Oh, nice.
I think it was in Miami.
I saw this video.
Yeah, right. I know. And I said, listen, guys, I was the one saying, I don't think this is a good idea. And they're going, why? Because, it could get a bit silly because I just can't shut up, and it could, and the both marketing and legal are standing there. There's a lawyer and marketing, and PlayStation, two people, and they came out and said, "No, David, go for it. Well, if it's not going out live, but we're going to give them carte blanche to edit the thing down and make it." I went, okay, and then and that's the only time I've done it out loud when it recorded, but I've done it sometimes when I'm playing myself.
I know. If I voice myself, I'd play myself all the time.
I can get very addicted to video games, and in the early noughties, PS2, Xbox time, had younger and less responsibilities, and living in shared houses just post drama school with loads of mates, I could really lose myself. I lost a job, I think, because of Hitman 2 Silent Assassin.
I'm sorry. I'd like to apologize.
Because
what was the job?
I had like a really important audition.
What did you would play until 7 in the morning?
That's really amazing.
I had a really important audition, and I was like, I've got to get. I mean, it's just a mission in St. Petersburg, but this is so difficult.
I remember that one.
My favorite mission.
Yeah, well, that's actually my favorite game. That's the game that got me
into the underground train, I think, or something.
The whole one. One. So I really got lost in that, and I lost the job. Or so that's just. And then about a year or two later, we were burgled. We were living in some skanky house in a skanky area, and we were burgled. And the burglars took the PlayStation and the Xbox, and it was like.
So your acting career just went up then.
You see? Yeah, exactly.
You awake for the auditions and stuff,
Yeah, people obviously have better responses to technology than I do, but for me, I kind of had to draw a line at that point, so I haven't played any games like that since.
It can be totally addictive, though. I can remember playing Civilization till like 7 in the morning and stuff.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
No, I don't play computer games. I don't know why. I think it's a time thing. And I did play when I was younger with various boyfriends at the time. And I did actually really feel that it was, for me, it would also be very addictive. And maybe that's kind of why I stayed away, because I have this ability to kind of focus in on something at the expense of everything else. And so I think if I had computer games in my life, I probably wouldn't get much work done.
Yeah, that's something else.
Well, yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, I think you have time when you're you're younger and have less sort of commitments and stuff. So it's a no-brainer. But I do have to right now. I don't know if you guys are doing this. I'm having to look at a lot of games as a member of BAFTA for the BAFTA Games Awards. But I have to. I always exempt myself at the end of the day because I never get. There's no way I could. I've got to be honest and going, I can't see 300 games. What? Are you crazy?
Yeah.
But it gives me a good overview of what's going on and what's out there. It excites me. And you, and what are you up to recently, Jane?
Oh, well, I'm in Cyberpunk. Well,
Yeah, I saw your Twitter post,
way
actually.
to go, way to go.
Congratulations.
Oh, wow.
That's a project I'm hugely proud of.
Jane, what did you say you were doing? I missed that. What did you say you were doing, Jane?
Oh, I'm in Cyberpunk, which has just been released. It's a big game with Keanu Reeves. Yeah.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah. And it took such a long time to get that game out. They were supposed to release it sort of many months ago, and then they kept sort of saying, "Oh no, we're not quite ready yet." It's a massive game. It's huge, really, really big.
Yeah, it is.
So,
Very big.
it was exciting that it was released this week.
Jane, do you find that you play variations of the same character in different games? Do you have an archetype that you kind of always play, or do you play a broad section of characters?
I don't play a very broad section of characters. I'd like to play a broader section of characters. I'm working on a game right now, it has loads of different characters, so I get to try out different things and different sorts of characters. But usually I'm either playing a real tough, broad, like military style person who's leading a gang and telling them what to do, or somebody like Diana, who's kind of essentially doing the same thing, but just telling one person what to do. And she's obviously sophisticated than the other women.
How did you all land your respective...
I love Diana.
How did you all land your respective roles? Was there I suppose this is more aimed at Jane, John and Philip. Was there an audition process, or did your agent...
In Hitman, I auditioned to be the in-game tutorial in Hitman Absolution.
Oh, okay.
That was my very first involvement. So I wasn't really a character. I was just sort of explaining, well, this is what this is for, and this is what that weapon will do, and that sort of stuff. And they just, I guess they just liked my voice and my approach to that particular role, if you want to call it that. And then they invited me to be Diana. And they said, but we want her to be English. And I was like, well, no, I can't. I'm not English. I can't do that. And they said, no, please do it. We love your voice, and we just want to try it. And so I said yes. And so that's how I ended up playing Diana. It was just kind of via this other position that they asked me to voice.
Did you draw inspiration? Because obviously you weren't the first actress to portray Diana. Did you ever draw inspiration from the previous portrayals, or did you go in with I didn't listen to excuse me, Vivian's or Marsha's rendition of the character, although I know they're absolutely brilliant. But I think sometimes as an actress, you don't necessarily always want to do that. You just kind of want to make it your own and take it at face value for where it is in that moment in time. Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
I listened a lot to Fiona Bruce. She's a news announcer here in London, or in London, in England, on the BBC, and I just liked her sort of clipped style and her professionalism. And I thought, well, she's kind of the sort of person that I'm aiming to, I guess, be as Diana. And so my character is based on a news announcer, Fiona Bruce, who's wonderful.
Okay, I'm gonna there's a side story to this, because Vivian McKee is my theatre boss.
Oh, really?
So she doesn't like you by definition.
Sorry.
No, not at all, because Marsha edged her out first. But so, and of course I had that relationship, professionally and personally as one of my best friends. So it was kind of like, it should have felt more weird than it did to suddenly hear another voice telling me what to do and being in my earpiece and whatever.
I must admit, David, I always wondered what that was like for you, because I'm your third Diana, as it were, and I was curious about what that process would be like for you.
Well, normally I don't hear your voice. Mm-hmm. You guys all record in London, and I sit very alone in a very dodgy studio, which is fabulous, but it looks like, and I don't normally hear you guys, but occasionally, especially when we come back to the cinematics or if there's some retakes, or change some of the shots, then I'll get a chance to hear you. But very rarely anyone else. It's just, you know, I've got the whole script, but so I can hear your line in my head, but I don't hear your voice. So
it is a very isolated way of acting.
Yeah,
it
I was actually that was going to lead into one of my next questions. So I'll go there now. So obviously you record alone. I find that really interesting in that you don't have each other to bounce off, because I would have thought, as in being actors, you always bounce off one another, especially in theatre, right? If you're on stage with someone else.
Well, you were asking earlier about the difference between, you know, theatre, film, TV, computer games.
Oh, yeah.
Is one of the big differences. And I mean, acting in computer games, I think, is a real challenge in a way, because in theatre you've got many, many weeks to, you know, prepare, to work on your character, to rehearse, to get to know your fellow performers. And as an ensemble, you bring the, you know, that play off the page onto the stage. And it's a similar process, film and TV, although it's a bit more condensed. You don't have quite as much time, and it's still an ensemble, but you've got the crew there, and it is a different experience. And then computer games, it's condensed to like that. You get the script the night before, usually, and you're not working with anybody. And as David says, you're working with, you know, characters in your imagination.
And how much?
You also, maybe David is in a different position because he's the lead in the game. You don't get the entire script at all. You get pretty much the words you're going to say. And then a guy in your headphones who's maybe in another country says, okay, so in this scene, the story is, and you're like, okay, I played this character a year ago, which is the last time they got me in. And I remember then I was doing that. So you're doing a huge amount of catching up and filling in the gaps. I mean,
so there can be.
I don't want to sort of spoil anyone's idea that we kind of are so immersed in the lore of the game and that we understand every bit of it.
No way.
There's a big disconnect.
And then you try and play each moment as truthfully as you can. And the director's very good.
The only way to do it.
With background context.
Do you have much like creative freedom with the way you deliver your lines? Like, can you ad lib or experiment with different tones of voice, etc., or is it like The Sopranos where you just have to read the script as it's been written, you know, dictatorial almost in how you deliver your lines?
A little bit.
You guys are. You get a little.
Yeah. I think you have a lot of freedom in performance. I think you have a lot of freedom in once you played the part a couple of times, they kind of trust how you're going to do it. But I think that quite often, for loads of very technical reasons, the actual words are pretty locked down. Storytelling has to happen.
Okay.
My favorite, very quickly, and then I'll stop talking, of all of these different genres, I love it when you're doing mocap, which we did on Hitman 1. And that was
they had very impressive cinematics for season 1.
Yeah, Hitman 1. They had a really great Hitman 1 2016.
Stand still for Hitman 2.
Yeah, which is still like a sort of newspaper photo love story. But that was my favorite because in those circumstances, it's like a perfect mix of theatre and film. Theatre because you've got these really long takes, and you don't have to worry about hitting your mark, and you don't have to worry about being in the light. But film because you don't have to worry about being enormous. You can be very small and up close and personal. You can be very kind of minute. Yeah. So my favorite work that I did in the whole Hitman series is probably the Colorado cutscene, which is when I'm down the sniper line.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite moments as well.
Yeah, and looking at him, and that's my favorite bit of the whole thing because it's incredibly. That was a really freeing bit of performance where the other actor was there with you. You were in a room. You were holding a gun, and it sort of just came
together. And it's the first moment you kind of learn of their connection as well and the history they share. As a fan, I've been very immersed in this trilogy and the story, so I agree. And it's actually why the Shadow Client is like my favorite villain, not of just any Hitman game, but it's one of my favorite villains ever. So, or he's now kind of a good guy as well. It's kind of hard to tell where he's at. So.
Well, I'm so envious of this process. I have never mocapped. I know, I'm gutted. Look.
David, I thought you did mocap with Jane, for instance, on Hitman 1.
If only I had.
Sorry?
No, they had another actor in playing you, David, which is you know, he did it well, but I would have much preferred.
Right. You know, I didn't know.
There. And
Sounds
it's
like,
not about
I
the
was
book.
a
sounds like you're drawing the short straw there, David.
Yeah,
they need
big
to.
time. Listen, here's the story briefly. I was in Atlanta at a voiceover conference, voiceover Atlanta conference, voice arts, whatever it's called. Anyway, and I suddenly got a call from Copenhagen saying, "Listen, could you swing by London on your way back? Because we want you to mocap." And I went, "Yes, at last!" After hundreds of years doing Hitman. And so I was going to go and change my ticket. I went down to the foreign hotel and said, "Listen, could you fix this for me? And I need the numbers." We're right out next to Atlanta's airport, so I could quickly get it sorted. And I went, "Get this done. I'm going to do mocap." And this was for Absolution. So it would have been with you, Jane. I would have mocap with you.
Hitman 1.
Hitman 1. Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Absolution
No,
was just before Hitman 1, I think.
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah, no, it was absolutely, it was 2014.
Could have been
I think,
Hitman
something
2,
like. But the
actually.
point is,
Yeah.
I got it all ready to go, and then they said, stand down. We're using the same stuntman to do
Oh.
your
Right.
What a
Well,
drag.
and
Must have
also,
been.
we were.
I loved doing the mocap. It was so
You've done
much.
mocap as well, Philip.
Yeah. I did it twice, and I just like you, John. It was one of my favorite times of my whole acting career. Was that day, the day that I met you. And I know you said we've met outside a few times, but I remember meeting you, John, when we did that mocap in that huge warehouse with all those huge cameras everywhere.
So
In the volume, as they call it, the volume, yeah.
Was that in the
It
UK?
was fantastic.
Gutted.
I just remember that day with, and I did two scenes, and one was with Jane at the end of that Hitman 1. We did the thing on the train, and I'd never done it.
That's a great scene.
That's a great.
I love that. One of my favorite things in my whole acting career, and I'd never done any mocap before at all. And interesting what you say, John, about, because it is a bit like theatre, because you do this really long take. You have to remember all your lines. You have to do the really long take, but you know it's also being shot very close. Well, it's being shot from so many different sizes and angles. And I just remember, and I'd never done this before. And then there was Jane had this, you do all the thing where you put the camera on, you make all these faces to the camera, and then the camera gets to understand your expressions. And then it was really strange being in this very intimate setting on this train with Diana. And Jane's got this kind of camera on her face, strapped to her head like that, and I've got this thing strapped to my head. And you start put this on, you think, how on earth am I going to act in this? How am I going to even say the lines with this creature on my head, let alone do a decent performance? But then you forget about it. But I forgot about it very quickly, and I felt totally relaxed and completely immersed in the scene. And I love. Sorry, guys, I'll shut up in a minute.
No.
This is great.
I never follow the plot. I cannot follow any plot, no matter how simple it is. So I certainly can't follow Hitman plots. But I love the dialogue that the writers write, because they write brilliant. They create great characters, and they write really good dialogue. And I just loved doing that scene on the train. And I love the one with Mr. Fanning as well. I love the one with Mr. Fanning. So David, I hope that you and I, sir, can do a mocap one day.
Well, just before I die,
everybody loves the mocap.
All I've done was some the performance capture, which is basically mocap again, but just with the helmet on and my face, because they years and years ago they've scanned my face more and more into his face, so they've used bits of my face, and all the expression stuff is me. But I've never. I want to put on a big condom and have all this.
I love it. We look forward to that.
Philip,
We look forward.
can I ask, because I think that it's really interesting to hear that you did the motion capture for that train scene, especially the little shuffle that the Constant does as he walks down the carriage, and the skin crawlingly silky voice that you came up with. I was interested to hear, to see if your actual voice was anything like that, which it isn't, which is amazing.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, how did you come up with that voice?
Well, it's interesting, just regarding the actual character. I remember I'd be interested to hear what you all, of course, David, you've been playing this character for decades, practically.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how I'd be fascinated to hear what you got when you auditioned for all your parts, like John and Jane and everyone. Because I remember when I got the audition for this, I don't think they told me the name. They had a kind of working title for, because they're so secretive about the whole thing and don't want people to let things out. And I thought at one point, hold on a minute, this is for flipping Hitman. I'm going to audition for flipping Hitman. I've played this game for ages. I might be in this series that I love so much. And anyway, and they sent me a little character description, and it said something like, it was something along the lines of, he's not physically imposing, but he has this disturbing presence. I thought, okay, that sounds good. And then they also sent me this little, I don't know if you got this little drawing, this little artist's impression of what the Constant kind of looked like. And I remember he was dressed in this kind of grey suit, and he was just sort of standing there like this, very still, like this. And it was a brilliant drawing. And it was just this little drawing. I thought, the little tiny thing that you can sometimes take inspiration from. I think, I could feel that character well. And so when I did the audition, I think it was 2 scenes. I can't remember. I think it was the one with Mr. Fannin. I think I auditioned for. That's the one where Peter Gornstein, he saw the audition aside, but I love the dialogue, and I thought, I just love the character. So anyway.
I can't believe that, Philip, that you've been playing this game as really addicted.
Seriously, yeah. I mean, I've always.
Then you suddenly find yourself auditioning for it. You must have just exploded.
I know, and then friends of mine as well. Like there was an actor friend of mine called Mark, and he said because he called me Pip. He said, "Pip, you're going to be in Hitman. This is amazing." And then again, it was weird to sort of playing Absolution and James. Anyway, I've gone on. There you go. I look forward to playing this punk doodah.
Cyberpunk.
Oh, okay, right, yeah. I haven't been following games lately, so I'm not boned up with it, but I look forward to that.
Oh man, I wish I had. One thing, just on a side note, if ever this COVID crap goes away and we can all meet in a bar somewhere, I would look forward to that very much.
That would be great.
Oh, me too.
John could make his
breakfast. To catch up.
Yeah.
I've finished my breakfast now. I've had my toast. It was lovely. Toast with Marmite.
Marmite was good.
Marmite was brilliant.
Glass of water here, mate.
David, I'd like to start with you if that's okay. I feel like this latest trilogy arguably explores 47's origin unlike any other before, in that it's almost become like a story of redemption in response to a tragic and almost institutionalized upbringing for 47. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I've got a lot to say about that, but just briefly, I over the years, I've tried, that was my approach anyway, to use stuff that from my own life. It's not very original, but with so little information about his past in previous games, and that being very deliberate to kind of, have a kind of a backstory of his upbringing as a test tube assassin, and not knowing. I have had a kind of an idea that I wanted to do almost a Frankenstein's monster on him, in the sense that my own upbringing was very transient. I moved around a hell of a lot, and I never felt I belonged anywhere. And so I thought, okay, I can say these lines in a bit more a haunting way, or a sort of a kind of a dark way. I know he doesn't have feelings as such when he's on the job, but I wanted to have a kind of a haunting humanity about him, that he was looking for his past, or looking to try and understand where he came from and
where he fits.
What are these and what these people are expressing emotions, and he's just stopping their heartbeat, to put it very bluntly. And that was, no one ever stopped me doing this. But I think that kind of haunting melancholy with a very dark humor has crept in more and more over the years. And I just don't know if it's a chicken and the egg situation. Both the writers and myself have grown up, literally, in this franchise. And so when they're writing, maybe they're hearing consciously, oh, David, I could hear David say this line. And unconsciously, they might be writing stuff which reflects that kind of melancholy, or that sound, or that maybe I'm being way too deep on it, but that is honestly how I've approached it. And if it's been picked up by the writers or the fans along the way over 20 years, then great. But if they haven't, it's also great, because it's helped me in just using my kind of emotional memory to kind of say lines in a more interesting way than just kind of just. Although I will admit, he was very quiet and monosyllabic in the earlier games compared to later.
I think as early as the second game, Silent Assassin, he's always had that kind of crisis of identity. He went to Sicily in that game and became devoted himself to the Catholic Church and used religion as a way of searching for a path in life. And I think what's great about Diana is that she really does, their bond, I think, and Jane, I'll get you to comment on this now if you're happy to. She kind of really brings out the vulnerability in 47, I feel, and the human side to him. How do you view Diana's relationship with Agent 47, and what do you think makes their bond so powerful and unique?
I think that they have a very strong connection. I mean, their relationship is incredibly professional, of course, it has to be. But I think underneath that, there's perhaps a sort of sense of recognition. Diana's she's not a very emotional person. She's very business. I think she's very focused on what she wants to achieve in the world. And she has this incredible ally in Agent 47 who can help her achieve what she wants to achieve. And I feel, when I'm playing Diana, I feel this massive respect for Agent 47 and a sense of responsibility as well. I put him in a lot of tricky situations, and he always does good. But I think there's this.
Do you think you could describe her almost as a bit of a mentor, or like a maternal mentor even?
Yeah, I think there are elements of that there, certainly. So it's a really interesting character to dive into, because it's just that tension between this professional relationship and the deep care behind it. And I really like playing those two things.
David, did you have anything?
Found that a lot in the third game, which I find very charming and very interesting. We can't say any more than that, but it's we've become more interesting in that sense.
I think that's the beautiful thing about Hitman, is that it just has blossomed into this sort of amazing. The story, as you were saying, David, when you first started, you were sort of monosyllabic, and I just feel like the characters have just grown and become these amazing people with these amazing connections, and it's wonderful to get lost in their lives and in their stories. And the writers at Hitman, Philip, as you've mentioned, they're so fantastic. They're so good at what they do, and they've really evolved all of us beautifully.
And
you've got great.
But also, I would say, Philip and John, you guys have also had the chance to experience a journey, and I think that's a kind of a rare thing. You know, we do it in the theatre over, you know, maybe a 3-month period or whatever, and obviously on the film set, although that can be very, you know, backwards and forwards, and shoot the first scene last and the last scene first, and all that, and never meet everyone because you're not on the set at the same time. But you guys have also had a chance to have some kind of an emotional journey and attachment from the first time you've appeared to the as it's gone through, and I think that's kind of rare,
especially in a video
for most of us. Yeah, exactly. You kind of make your appearance and then you don't, and then you're not there.
Yeah. I think
I've played villains a few times in games, in like Assassin's Creed and other things like that. Tom Division is one. But to go from being the sort of antagonist to then gradually becoming, having a moment of resolution between us, and then becoming a helper and a sister is an amazing path to take, and really rich as a result.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about that, John. How did you find that transition between season 1 and 2 from antagonist to, you know, tritagonist?
I can't be the baddie anymore. Wait, can't I want to be the baddie? But no, I mean, there's only so far you can go with just, you know, being the guy who pulls the strings and, you know, is the shadowy guy behind. But when I was like, oh my, I'm gonna have to remind him, you know, that I'm his, you know, it's the Luke, I'm your father.
Totally.
Brother.
It's
a huge thing to be able to say to someone, and I think in a way it's quite a universal thing that we all in some way feel, whatever our lives have been, which is maybe I can go back and atone for the things that went wrong in the past. Maybe I can rewrite history. Wouldn't that be great if I could? Maybe I can help someone who is suffering and doesn't know why, and I can bring them to an understanding and peace, whatever it is. So that's on a very elemental level. That's a lovely thing to be able to do.
Yeah. And something else I really like about your characters, similar to what Diana does for 47's character, one of the most amazing things about the Hitman franchise is that 47's character, particularly his origins, have always been shrouded in such mystery. And, you know, Diana's helped to kind of bring pieces of the puzzle of 47's origins to the forefront. But I think your character has fundamentally done that as well, particularly in that scene that you mentioned earlier, the Colorado cut scene, where you're revealing that story about the Shadow Client 47 escaping the asylum together as in their adolescence. So how would you describe the newfound bond between Agent 47 and Lucas Grey, and how has their association and brotherly connection transformed 47's character? And David, I'd like to hear your answer on that too once John's finished.
Oh God, okay. I mean, I think it humanizes him a little bit, but that's really for David to say, not for me. It's curious because if you spend, as Lucas Grey has done, if you spend your entire life working towards this point, what do you do afterwards when you reach it? When he reaches the point where he explains to 47, the reason I've been doing this is because of this, and I'm your brother. Now what do we do? And it turns out what we do is I call you on the phone and tell you about missions and help you out. So it becomes quite domestic. But I kind of love that. I kind of absolutely love
brothers after all.
Yeah, we're brothers after all. I ring you up. I've got a job. Okay, yeah, I'll see you there.
Yeah, I'll see you there, man.
I'll see you. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's brave enough to go beyond where the movie would normally end, which is the resolution, and it now moves into what's life like after that, and. You know, like everything, it's not a fairy tale. There's not always a happy ending, and there are difficulties and bumps along the way. But yeah, David.
My response to that is, although I've always had Diana helping me and guiding me, and not necessarily protecting. Oh, yes, she does protect me sometimes. Yes, but that's been my constant, if you like, in terms of a relationship, and I found it fantastically interesting to kind of be out there with you, and not be alone anymore. And I was intrigued by that. I remember in Absolution having to appear, well, at least, to take out Diana, because Diana, the whole thing had gone horribly wrong, and I had to assassinate you. And how that was one of the nicest scripts to act in terms of emotional journey, or up and down trips, as actors like to do. But the bond we are allowed to have in our newfound relationship, I think is kind of, is so appealing, in the sense that everyone, every human being wants to kind of feel like they belong, or feel like they have an emotional connection with other people. We're not, sort of hermits. And I think the writers have been really, what's the word? Clever, I suppose. But more than that, they've revealed a huge amount of humanity in their writing, and maturity. I don't think they could have written this kind of stuff 10, 15 years ago.
Is it a completely different writing team, or is it the same writers?
No, well, the writing team does change. As far as I know, I'm the only one who has been there from the very beginning.
I had heard that, and I wasn't sure if it was true, but I think that's amazing. That's incredible that you've made it this far.
I'm saying, but from the writing point of view, some writers have come and gone, but for a very long time now, there's been pretty much the same writing core, and they write they write separately, and then they write as a team, and then obviously I'm not there in the room how it works out ultimately, but it is a kind of collaboration.
Do they ever ask you for any pointers as to what you think 47 would do in a certain situation, or do you ever give them any input or guidance?
No.
Or is it no?
No, there is. I, like you guys, I turn up on the day. They've been better in recent years because they're pretty much writing from level to level in terms of there's a building of 200 people slaving away, and I turn up at the last minute. Although that last minute now is kind of a 4 to 6 month journey because of they're writing a level, and I come in and do my bits, and then some retakes, and then I go away, and then 6 weeks, 8 weeks later, the next level, and so on. But they've had a constant sort of involvement with each other. I'm not involved in on the day in a recording session. I can come with some odd suggestions, but we've now, because the script is huge. First time we recorded, I think we did the whole script in 3 hours, and as I say now, it's over months.
Have you guys? Have they sent you the script for each chapter in the trilogy as you record, or from the get-go? Did they send you the entire overarching story?
Well, I was struck by the idea when I had John. You were saying earlier, we only get our lines, and you're going, that's a bit like Elizabethan theatre. Play your part, and you're given your part. Learn your part, and show up.
Exactly.
And totally,
that must
we're back to that.
That must present you with such a challenge. Yeah, come full circle. That must present you with such a challenge.
In recent years, they've just given me more, partly also because I've asked more. Give me an arc of the story, or so I know where we're going, and also I now get the whole script, and I enjoy that. Because as you guys are saying, we just don't get that chance normally. So, if I don't know, as we normally don't know, only thing I want to ask is what came before. That's all. I don't want to know a single thing about what comes after. I just say, what has just happened? you know, if I need to know.
Just for context, yeah.
Yeah.
So Philip, I absolutely adore that, and this will be directed at Jane as well. I absolutely adore that scene in the train. So how do you view the kind of climax or the cliffhanger to season 1? How do you view the psychological power play and mind games between Diana and Arthur Edwards in that scene? I mean, the train cutscene being a prime example. What was it like doing that scene for the both of you from an intellectual standpoint? And, did you, obviously we now know that you worked together because you did the motion capture together. But how did you help, how did you work together to help fuel that sensational psychological competitive chemistry between the two characters, despite having those monstrosities?
Well, I've already given my 2 pennies worth about that. Go over to you, Jane. Well, I'll chip in afterwards.
I think when these 2 characters come together, it's like, I felt anyway. So I don't know what you felt, but I felt like, oh God, I've met my intellectual match here. Like this, I'm sort of used to being, not me, but Diana is used to being the smartest person in the room, really, very confident of her skills and abilities, intellectual abilities. And then
ice cool.
Ice cool. And she meets this guy, and I think he kind of catches her off guard in that scene. I'm like, oh, right, hello. So there's that sense of, oh, I'm up against a rival who I need to really think this one through and be very careful because he is smart. And I'm a little intimidated, not a little, a lot intimidated by him. So that was fun to play because you have to keep your cool. But so up here, everything's like, fine, it's all good. And underneath, you're like, holy fuck. So it's fun to play those sorts of things.
It's interesting because Providence as an organisation, they've impacted the lives of Lucas Gray, 47, even Diana with the Blue Seed origin story and the death of her parents. And would you say, because Philip, I'd like to get your interpretation of the character of the Constant. I mean, is he a villain or is he just another victim of Providence? I mean, he is Janice's protege, right? Like, was he brainwashed by by the founding fathers of Providence? Is he just another victim in the story, or is he really the bad guy?
Yeah, we have sometimes when we've been recording, I have sometimes asked the directors, because it's interesting we were talking about earlier about how much freedom you're given as an actor to do something the way you wish. And I do enjoy that, of course. I mean, I do remember asking them, things about what's his moral feeling about this? And sometimes they've given me kind of, I don't want to answer that question at the moment. I can't really say whether he's a bad or a good guy. I can't really.
It could reveal.
I have to. I can't really say. I have my own thoughts about that. Maybe if we do another interview, I might say more about that. But one thing I was just interested in talking about. I know this is directly an answer to your question, but when Jane was talking about her feelings about how Diana felt meeting the Constant in that scene, which I just love doing the motion capture so much. It's interesting because I think you may have asked us how we prepared to do this work, but we didn't do any rehearsal. We just knew the lines, and we'd never actually acted in anything before, had we, Jane? It's interesting how if you get an actor who's confident in their part and you get a good piece of writing, and Peter Gornstein's directions, you didn't give many directions, but they were good directions. They were really good and helpful. Then the scene just works. Anyway, that's my answer to is the Constant a good guy or a bad guy? Anyway.
Okay, thank you.
Well-acted guy.
Yeah,
good
phenomenally well acted. Yeah, and great writing.
Helps a lot.
Another question for Philip. I just love the smoothness to the Constant's voice. Have you ever considered doing an ASMR video as a Constant?
ASMR?
Is anyone familiar with what that is?
No.
I'm familiar.
You're familiar? So it's a genre of videos on YouTube, And people, ASMR, it's an acronym, it stands for Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response. And it's essentially a genre where you can, there's all different, basically video creators use soundscapes to help relax their viewers through the auditory sensory system. So there's videos like rain or, you know, anything, music.
Yeah. Walking through the forest or something.
Yeah, exactly. So I could just imagine the constant...
I've never even heard of this. I mean, quite frankly, I've never heard. It sounds fascinating. It would be interesting, but I've never. I would never have thought anybody would want. I mean, I do enjoy the Constance voice. I like his voice. I feel at one with the voice, but I don't think. As an actor, I haven't done much. I think Jane's done a lot of, probably you all have, but I know Jane's done a lot of voice work. And it's I think Jane on Twitter, it says own voice studio or something. There's some profile Jane has, and I think that's an actor thinking like that, because you've got to let people know that. Sometimes it's just the fact that someone will know you have your own voice studio that'll help you get the job.
Especially now.
But anyway, I haven't heard of those walking through forest things, but it sounds fun.
Yeah, it is.
May I just say one thing in all humility? You three actors have the most stunning voices. And if you don't have a home studio, get one. Philip, because, you know, or because seriously, it's you stroke my ears with your voices.
I think you as a cast, you as a cohesive unit could do a fantastic ASMR video.
We should
in character.
You may like why I say all of us. We want a cutscene with Diana,
and then you all do the motion capture.
Hitman and the Constant, all in one.
Yeah. All in one.
Build a studio, Phil. I did mine at the beginning of lockdown for like 500 quid, and it has saved my ass this year.
Yeah.
Really?
Okay.
DIY studio.
You built it in the corner of your house or something?
Corner of a room, microphone, MacBook, little preamp, and some sound treatment stuff. 500 quid, but it's kept me alive this year.
That's fantastic.
You've got to do it.
It's really inspiring to hear that.
Yeah.
Have you got a home studio, David?
Yeah, I got a Studio Bricks set up at home.
Oh, great.
I have it round the corner of my, 300 meters, 250 meters from my house.
Studio
Bricks is a guy in Barcelona who's made a musician who was always getting shouted at apparently by his neighbors because he was playing a saxophone in his apartment and it was going, shut up. So he developed a very sexy portable sound studio setup, which would even look good in your front room, and it does. So I did a shitload of research. The Whisper Room, very nice. All these different setups, and for 10 years I had a duvet over my head.
Yeah,
I was doing sound breakers for the BBC and the CNN. I'll never work again. I realize I'm telling this. But, with a duvet over my head, just going, this is insane. So much so, I have a permanent injury in my right shoulder.
No.
Because I've held 3.5 kilos in that position for 3 hours at a time. So now I went bugger this. 10 years ago, not 10 years ago, 6 years ago, something like that.
Right.
I
got serious.
Very sexy sound studio. Strongly recommend.
Fantastic.
I don't get sponsored by it. Yeah. But seriously, as John was saying, that's all I'm using. I'm using a MacBook Pro, a little preamp, Apollo Duo preamp for 500 quid or something, and okay, the studio thing is a bigger investment, but it weighs a ton, but there's not a single screw in it. It's just like big Lego blocks, very big Lego blocks. But you just build the studio, and there's a door, and boom.
You can put some egg cartons on your wall to create a nice...
You don't need to do it. It's all in the box.
Oh, it's all in the box? Oh, okay.
Amazing.
Whisper Studio, I think I've heard of that expression, a whisper room or something.
Yeah, Whisper Room is an American thing, and Studio Bricks is the European kind of equivalent, which in my opinion is very, very good. But it is a bit of an investment, and you don't need to do it. As John says, you can set up something pretty good in your own cupboard, basically. But we've come into our own, the home studios, in the last year because of COVID. Man, I stay at home and earn money, so that's good.
Is it okay if we move on to subscriber questions now? I just have
three.
Yeah. So this comes from Yusuf Hagazi, and he says, how has the Hitman experience impacted your acting career, and has it presented other acting opportunities within the video game industry? Anyone? Ooh. John, would you like to start us off?
Okay.
My Hitman career came from other opportunities. My first video game was a game called Rise, Son of Rome, which is my first mocap that I got because I was a kid.
Yeah, it's like a gladiator style game, isn't it?
Sorry?
It's like the Roman gladiator game, isn't it?
Roman game, yeah. I think it was the first Xbox, whatever it was, game in like 2013. It looked beautiful.
Oh, really?
And I was the guy in that, and Peter, and it was facial capture as well, and it's my face. They stole my face, so it looks like me. Everything. Peter Gornstein directed that.
The demo, anyway.
So your muscles and your six pack and everything, isn't it?
Definitely not that. There's another whole other guy. But off the back of that, Peter Gornstein offered me Lucas Gray straight out. I didn't.
Oh, wow. I
was trying to remember the audition. I've just emailed it, and I found the offer straight here in 2015 to play the part, which is amazing. So that's
really great.
Whole process, and it's certainly led to other video games and lots of it. I do quite a lot of video games now, which I never would have seen myself doing, and which I love. But I do feel, and maybe other people can say the same, these kind of things exist in silos a little bit, like they're all separated from each other. So no one who knows about my audiobook career is really into video games particularly, perhaps, and people do commercial voiceovers and people who do theatre, and people they do all exist in isolation. But that's kind of good in a way, because it means you can be this guy over here and that guy over there, and
absolutely. There's no
one
crossover.
Of them, reputationally, whatever that might mean, doesn't impact on the other one. So in a way, and also, as we've all learned this year, having what's called a portfolio career doesn't hurt. If one thing stops working, maybe the other thing will keep you going.
Put your eggs in different baskets.
Yeah.
Jane, would you say that voicing Diana helped get you the role in Cyberpunk?
Well, that's a good question. I'm assuming so. I don't know directly. I will say that I've done a number of computer games, and people will sometimes take a little moment to say, "Oh, by the way, I really love you in Hitman, and I'm really happy to be working with you in and then they'll get on to the task at hand." So I should think that, yes, I think Hitman is such a fantastic game. It's probably raised, all of our profiles to a certain extent. And I think, when you're in a game like Hitman, you're a safe bet in a way, because people know, oh, well, John and David, Philip, they can get the job done. I reckon it probably has. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Second subscriber question comes from Xavier DJ, and he says, would you ever return to the Hitman franchise to voice a different character, even just a cameo role like an elusive target? I'm assuming you all know I know David and Jane would, but do you guys know what elusive targets are? No? They're like temporary targets that appear every so often on a temporary basis for 47 to take out.
Okay.
The most famous one being Sean Bean.
Yes.
Yeah, he was an elusive target for about 6 weeks, where the world got to go out and kill Sean Bean. So where it was his face, and he did all the mocap and everything himself. So that's the extra element of playing an elusive target character.
Yeah.
I obviously can't play one. So.
Well, you could play another clone, could you not?
Do
they all sound the same?
Can I ask David a question about other games in relation to this? Do you find that because you've done Hitman so much, you kind of that you're the Hitman guy, and it limits you doing other video games, or
well,
or you transform and you just become someone else in another game?
Yeah, the truth is, I've only ever done one other computer game, and I did that this year. They're called Light Matter by Tunnel Vision Games. A stunning game. But I have said no to some because I just thought it was not right, because I had maybe too high a profile as Agent 47. But the other side of the coin is that I'm in a way on the fringe. I mean, Copenhagen and Scandinavia have some a very industrious computer game industry, but it's a drop in the ocean compared to London or New York or LA or something. So I'm not exposed to being offered anything.
And just one final subscriber question. This comes from Philip Rosch, and he says, is there a stigma within the acting world where some traditionalists who just stick to stage and film might look down their nose at actors who lend their talents to the video game industry?
I think there used to be, but not anymore.
Yeah. Because you've got big names like Keanu Reeves.
Really, obviously, very big. Yeah. And I think that, computer games are rivaling feature films now in terms of their popularity and also, the way they look is just amazing, and the technology gets better and better and better with almost with every game.
And it's a huge industry now, isn't it?
It is huge, and it earns an awful lot of money. And I think it is, and also, as we talked about with Hitman, the writing is so good. There's so many games out there that are just beautiful character realizations. And I think big name actors are sort of thinking, oh, actually, there's scope for me to really use my skill set as an actor. This game has enough profile for the profile that they have created, as a sort of movie star, TV star. So it is, they are attracting big names. And I think people are quite keen to get into computer games now. But I do think that, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years ago, that was not so much the case. It wasn't looked upon as a very eloquent art form, but it is now.
Yeah, because I suppose people didn't have a very thorough understanding of it going back 15 or 20 years. David, did you ever face that stigma in the early days of Hitman?
Yeah, I just thought, Jane, you answered it very eloquently, because I was about to climb down the microphone and just totally go off. I'll just tell you one short thing. Oh God, you see, this gets me going. Yeah, the short answer is yes. There is a stigma. Yeah. Oh, you're a voice actor, and you're going, no, I'm an actor. Oh, right, yeah. you just do voice. I just want to punch them in the face until they stop breathing.
Time to get the fiber wire
because, But here's the thing. I literally, about 10 years ago, I was walking through my front room and the TV was on when the news started, the Danish news, national news station at the BBC. And the opening story was, electronic entertainment is the world's biggest form of entertainment. And I went, what? Normally the news starts out with World War III and, something really, but this was the opening story. And I stopped dead in my tracks, and obviously I watched the art. And it went on to say that it was, it's times a zillion. Every other industry, forget about it, go home. Music industry, not even close. And film industry, you're wasting your time. And obviously, lesser down the food chain in other forms of entertainment, you can't even come close. So that really struck me. And then last year, I had an out-of-body experience in a way. I'm at the Voice Arts Awards in Warner Brothers, and I'm walking up the red carpet, and the press are going off, and you're just going, well, if this is a kind of a cottage industry or a less regarded industry, then the people should experience something like this or see this kind of occasion, because it's huge, and it's And just to follow up in a much more concise now way, Jane's comments, it is totally, there's no, what do you call it, disregard for our industry or being less appreciated. I think if there is, ironically, it could be from other actors. You're thinking, oh, like years ago in the 70s, people used to say, oh, you do commercials. Oh, I would never do a commercial. That stigma, maybe, if there was such a thing, is well and truly gone. But, it was always theatre and film and TV. And TV was maybe the poor cousin to film. I don't know who makes these rules up. It's just now it's, just acting. If it's electronic entertainment or it's theatre or if it's just all kosher.
That's really good that it's changed then for the better.
Yeah, sorry. Jane said it much better than all that rubbish I just said.
Oh, no, it's good to get your insight on it.
But I can get really wound up by it.
How do you think the fandom will receive Hitman 3? Without giving anything away, of course. Oh,
very
sorry.
Well.
Very well. Full stop.
Yeah, I know too much.
Okay, all right.
There you go.
They're gonna go mental.
Okay.
I can just tell you this much, just in terms of the game. It's the best I've ever seen. And I thought Hitman 1 blew me off the table. Hitman 2 left me kind of pretty stunned, and this one, I'm speechless.
So you're referring universally, so writing, level design, gameplay mechanics, everything as a full package.
Yes, the full package plus one extra.
Awesome. I'm very excited for January 20.
Yeah.
How do you all feel about the World of Assassination trilogy coming to an end? As obviously, I think it was David said earlier that you've all been on a journey for the last 5 or so years. How do you all feel about it coming to a close now? And what's your each of you briefly, what's your most cherished memory of this journey of Hitman or this trilogy specifically?
You guys haven't done that one first, I think.
I'm going to miss it obviously, and I think it was oddly the most enjoyable bit was the very first day when we all met up in the little tight leotards and we made those.
Absolutely, my favourite day as well.
Yeah, we did the motion capture.
I'm so jealous of you guys. I'm so envious.
Yeah.
So you did all that on the same day.
Although I tell you what I have started doing recently, I've started playing Hitman Go on my mobile phone.
Oh, nice.
I've
never played it. No, I'm like.
I've heard of that.
It's like a puzzle game, isn't it?
It's like a little tiny strategy game on your phone. It's
actually quite good.
It's amazing and it's incredibly
addictive.
Okay,
yeah, I've heard really good things about Hitman Go.
Yeah. So that's how that's going to be my sort of bleeding off my Hitman addiction by playing.
I've been playing it for years. It's fabulous. It's really good.
Fantastic.
Philip and Jane, how do you feel about the trilogy coming to an end, and what's your most cherished memory?
I have to echo what you guys have said. That day, the motion capture day was great. It was great.
David.
Be interested to see what David says then.
Yeah, I really did enjoy that day. I love Diana. I love her, and and I love the relationship that she has with 47. I really do. So
it's lasted 20 years. So it's a phenomenal bond.
Although my participation in it has been, I guess, the past 6 or 7 years. I can't remember, but anyway, I'll miss it hugely. It's been great, absolutely great, and I really love IO Interactive. They are a great games company. They're just really lovely people, and I'll miss interacting with them as well.
Yeah, now they're going into James Bond.
Yes, I was about to ask you about that.
A big blue chip franchise. They've been blessed by the Broccoli's or whoever it is, whoever decides, the Fleming family.
I think Hitman won them that deal, right, for the 007 license.
Absolutely, and trust me, the whole world was after that franchise.
Absolutely.
So it's a very monster big deal. So get your agents onto it. Although I've got a sneaky feeling, you know, if
we've got to get you an agent first, David.
Yeah, I mean, would you? That was going to be
we'll deal with it.
That was going to be one of my next questions. Would you all? I mean, of course, it's 007, so you'd all want to be involved in that in some way, surely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe Hitman wants to assassinate 007.
Well, they could technically. Could they combine those two universes? Could they?
It's not a quantum leap from Agent 47.
No.
You know.
I mean, Sean.
So
Bean,
they have got the.
Sean Bean played.
Yeah, exactly. Sean
Golden
Bean.
Eye, so.
Everyone's killed Sean Bean.
Yeah.
But you know, I just wish them everything of the best with that. But the thing is, we'd all be absolute hot tickets for voices in that. But I think we're a little too known. You know, I think we're probably professionally unemployable for that. Maybe as cameos, or maybe as as the villain. I'm getting a lot of Twitter feed stuff. Great! You know, David will be so great as the villain, and I'm going.
That would be amazing.
No, Philip's got that covered. Yeah, I don't know what the future holds, but IOI, you're right. IOI are a fantastic company,
and they're actually
full of lovely people.
They're doing an origin story for 007. Could you ever see them doing that for Hitman?
Yeah, but then I'm sure they'll choose another actor. You know, a younger voice. You know, Hitman the teenager or something. I don't know. His first kill when he was 12. No comment. You know, it's the thing we've all appreciated. To answer your question, is that we've all had a chance to stay on this project for a while and get to know each other and get to know the characters more and more. You know, that's a rare thing for an actor, I think.
Yeah, it's almost
normally,
especially in video games, it's quite a rarity to play the same character for like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's the same in anything, theatre or film. You know, you come in, you attach yourself to a project. You get all friendly with and close with the people you're working with, and have a wonderful, intense sort of, and then you go, bye, have a nice life. So we're going to miss it all, of course.
Yeah,
we're going to miss it.
So, are you working? Any of you working on? I'm sure you all are working on other big, significant projects outside of Hitman at the moment, or any upcoming projects for 2021 that you'd like to plug, or?
Well, we can never talk about them because when you do a computer game, you're always tied up under non-disclosure.
Okay, so no films or TV series or.
I'm in a Netflix animation. I'm voicing a baddie in series 2.
Great,
nice.
Comedy baddie. There's a show called Hilda, which is a great sort of animation. By Luke Pearson, which has been made into an animation. It's on series 2 now, and it's sort of Scandinavian-y set world of a young girl having adventures among trolls, and I play a baddie in that, and that's out on Monday.
That's out on Monday. Okay, I've got Netflix.
An animation.
What's it
Okay,
called?
great.
Hilda.
What's it called? Hilda.
H-E-S.
That's a good Scandinavian name. I'm playing an orchestra conductor, a famous English orchestra conductor. In a TV, yeah. So actually, tomorrow I've got to have 6 hours of conductor training.
Oh wow,
I don't know how to do.
That's interesting.
Fantastic.
So yeah, that's my next project.
And that's filming in Copenhagen, is it?
Yeah, it's filming. Yeah, and I've had a days on it already, but I have not been in front of the orchestra yet. So.
Wow.
I have 6 hours tomorrow not to make a fool of myself, and then I'll start shooting in January and February. So,
wow.
But
that's really exciting. Yeah,
so that's fun because it's something to do. Yeah. Something to do. I'm very chuffed to be a part of it.
Well, that about. I do have some questions left in reserve, but I think we've gone well over time now. So I think that wraps everything up nicely.
Great.
Really enjoyed it. It's been really, It's a great idea, and it's just great. It was so much fun, and just fantastic to see you all here, guys. I'd love it.
Yeah,
So
thank
much.
you everyone so much for coming on board.
You're
It's
very
For
welcome.
doing it. We would never have met otherwise, and you know we're all in this game together, and otherwise we'd never see each other. So you've enabled this.
Thanks for bringing us together. This is literally a world first.
You're
So,
welcome. I really hope
made
one
it
day
happen.
you can all meet in person and
We will.
reminisce.
Definitely.
Reminisce.
Yeah, and have many a pint.
I'm buying. There you go. There's
Anyway,
the threat.
it was an absolute pleasure to meet you all, and thank you again so much for getting up early to speak to me. And very, very looking forward to Hitman 3. I'm sure it will be such a joy to experience, and I'd just like to thank you as well for all the hard work you've done to make such an amazing trilogy over the last 5 or 6 years. You've all done a commendable job, and we as the fans are hugely appreciative and love the work you do. So thank you very much. Hats off to all
Our
of you.
pleasure.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, there we have it, guys. That was my virtual panel interview with the main Hitman cast. It was such a cool experience, and one that I'll never ever forget as a Hitman fan. I'm just so thankful for all of them for agreeing to do it. Thank you so much if you happen to watch this back, any of you. You know, there's other channels out there that are much larger than mine, that have a much larger following, that they could have gone with to do this, but they were kind enough to do it with little old me. So I'm so thankful, and yeah, I'll always be forever grateful that they were so kind to join me and give me the time of day to discuss these amazing characters that we all love so much. I'd also like to thank you guys. You guys did a lot to help to make this happen too. It wasn't all just me. If you guys hadn't rallied behind my initial request to interview the cast, I don't think this ever would have happened. And you know, I was a little bit hesitant to ask you guys to get behind me, because I was afraid that it might get a bit overboard and it might actually scare them off. But it you know, no one went overboard, no one hassled them, everyone was very respectful. I really do believe that's a big reason as to why this happened. So thank you all so much for your patience and your support through this process. It's so amazing. We're so close to Hitman 3 now. Let's just soak up the hype that is remaining in this time left. Before I go, I will just say, if you do enjoy my work, please do consider giving the video a like. You can even subscribe if you want to keep up to date with my other works. Please also leave your own thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say in regards to the interview. I really am hoping that this won't be the last interview that I ever conduct, whether it be with voice actors or anyone associated with not necessarily Hitman, but maybe this will be a stepping stone into interviewing actors that are involved in other games, other franchises. It's a really cool concept that I enjoyed doing, and I would like to explore it further. We might even get some of the cast that I interviewed to come back for a one-on-one interview with some of them, so that'd be really cool as well. I'd like to get your thoughts on my interviewing style, how you thought I went, how you think I could improve. It is something I'd like to pursue further. If you do like my content enough to pledge a little bit of financial support every month, you can now do so by becoming an All Things Hitman channel member. All you have to do is click the join button down below to find out what the monthly perks are as a member, the best probably being a monthly exclusive members only live stream with yours truly. If you don't want to become a member but you'd like to make a one-off donation, I'm also accepting donations through Streamlabs. All the links to all that information I just discussed or raised is in the video description. Thank you so much for watching this video. My name has been Reaper1, and I'll speak to you all very soon.